Welcome to Personal Finance Deep Dives, where we help you make your money work for you. Today, we're getting into something really interesting, a rule in the IRS tax code that could literally be your secret key to early retirement. It's called the 72T rule, and it promises a way to get your hands on your retirement money before the usual age, and get this, without those nasty penalties. So let's break down how it all works.
So you know the dream, right? Retiring early, maybe at 50, 55. But if you've done the right thing and saved diligently in your 401k or IRA, you hit this huge wall. All that money is right there, but it feels locked in a vault, totally out of reach until you're 59 and a half.
And this right here, this is the wall. This number is what stops most early retirement plans dead in their tracks, a painful 10% penalty for taking your money out early. And listen, that's on top of the normal income tax you have to pay anyway. It can really feel like you're being punished just for trying to access your own savings. Kind of makes that dream feel impossible, right?
But here's the wild part. The IRS, the very same people who set up that penalty, also created a legal escape hatch. It's an approved way to get around that penalty and start using your money sooner. This is where it gets really good, so let's dive right in.
Okay, so this escape hatch is officially known as Rule 72T. And as you can see, it's a rule that allows for penalty-free withdrawals from your retirement accounts. We're talking IRAs, 401ks, before you hit that magic 59 and a half age. The best way to think about it? It's like creating your own personal pension, funded by your own savings, but you get to skip paying that 10% penalty. Now hold on, there's a pretty big catch. The IRS isn't just going to let you grab a big pile of cash and walk away. Nope. In exchange for this awesome benefit, you have to commit to taking something called substantially equal periodic payments, or SEPPs, every single year. And the timing is absolutely critical. You have to keep taking these payments for whichever is longer, 5 full years, or until you turn 59 and a half. So think about that. If you start at age 45, you're locked in for almost 15 years. And that brings us to takeaway number 1. Rule 72T is not a one-time cash grab. It's a serious long-term income plan that you can't just change on a whim.
For a long time, this was kind of a niche strategy. It was useful, but its power was pretty limited. Then, just recently, an update, IRS Notice 2022-6, came along and completely changed the game. It basically gave this whole strategy a massive superpower, making it way more attractive for a lot more people. Let me show you how.
See, the amount of money you can take out is based on what the IRS calls a reasonable interest rate. Under the old system, this rate was tied to federal rates, which, let's be honest, were often incredibly low, sometimes under 2%. A low rate meant a low payout for you, simple as that. But now, check this out. The new rule sets up a powerful 5% floor. You now get to use a rate that's the greater of 5% or 120% of the federal rate. This one change is a huge upgrade. To really see what this means in dollars and cents, let's look at an example. Imagine a 50-year-old who saved up $1 million IRA. Great job, right? Well, under the old rules, with a low rate of, say, 1.69%, the absolute most they could pull out each year was about $37,000. For a lot of people, that's just not going to cut it for retirement. Okay, now let's use that new 5% rate. Same person, same $1 million. Their maximum annual withdrawal just jumped to over $60,000. That is a nearly $23,000 a year raise. That's a life-changing difference. And this perfectly illustrates our second key point. That brings us to takeaway number 2. The new 5% interest rate floor can dramatically, and I mean dramatically, increase the income you can generate from your savings. All right, so this new rule gives you a lot more firepower. But power needs to be used wisely, right? How do you actually wield this thing effectively? Well, the IRS officially gives you 3 different ways to calculate your payments. But honestly, the method that consistently stands head and shoulders above the rest if you're looking for maximum income is the amortization method.
Let me be blunt. The amortization method is the only one that really works for maximizing your payout. If your number one goal is to get the highest possible penalty-free income, it's the only game in town. Everything else is just an also-ran.
And the numbers really don't lie. Look at this. For our 50-year-old with $1 million, this chart lays it all out. The amortization method gets them that top number we talked about, over $60,000.
The annuitization method is close, but then look at the RMD method. It's shockingly low, just over $20,000. Now, why is that? It's because the RMD method doesn't even use an interest rate in its formula, so it gets zero benefit from that awesome new 5% rate. The data just makes it obvious. Amortization is your ticket for maximum income. This actually leads to a really interesting problem that almost never happened under the old rules. The new 5% rate is so powerful that your maximum payment might actually be more than you need. And taking more than you need just means you're creating a bigger tax bill for yourself. So this is where the strategy gets a lot smarter, more surgical. The critical thing you have to understand is that you don't have to use your entire retirement account for the calculation.
For example, let's say you only need $50,000 a year to live comfortably. If you just go and base your 70T plan on your full $1 million IRA, you're making a big strategic mistake. Sure, you can choose to take out less than the max, but here's the kicker. The entire $1 million account is now considered tainted. It's totally locked into those rigid 72T rules. You have zero flexibility. If a big emergency happens, you can't touch the rest of that money without blowing up the entire plan.
This is where the real pro move comes in. You split your IRA before you even start. So in our example, you could do a transfer and you'd calculate exactly how much you need to move to generate that $50,000 income you want. Turns out it's about $829,000. You'd start the 72T plan on that IRA and that one only. The other $171,000, it just sits in a separate, completely flexible IRA, totally untouched by the rules. It's your emergency fund. And that right there brings us to takeaway number 3. You can split your retirement accounts to generate a precise income stream while keeping a crucial reserve fund flexible. Okay, now before you get too excited and rush off to call your broker, we have to talk about the risks. This is critical. Everyone who knows this rule agrees on one thing. The 72T rules are incredibly rigid, and the penalties for breaking them, even by accident, are, well, they're severe. Let me be very clear on this point. In this little corner of the tax world, the IRS is totally unforgiving. There is practically zero room for error. A simple mistake can be unbelievably costly, and it can wipe out every benefit you got from the plan. Precision here is not a suggestion, it's mandatory.
So what exactly counts as breaking the plan? You might be surprised. I mean, obviously, stopping the payments early is a no-no, but so is taking the wrong amount, even by a little bit, or missing a payment deadline. And here's the really sneaky one. You can't make any additional contributions or rollovers into the account you're using for the plan. That specific account has to be treated like it's in a quarantine zone. Don't touch it. And if you do make a mistake, the penalty is just brutal. The 10% penalty gets applied retroactively to every single payment you've received since day one, and they add interest on top of that. So let's say you mess up in year 4 of a 5-year plan. Bam! You suddenly owe penalties and interest on everything you took out in years 1, 2, and 3. And this gives us our final and maybe the most important takeaway of all. That brings us to takeaway number 4. The 72T rules are inflexible, and the penalty for making a mistake is catastrophic. All right, so let's do a quick recap of what we've learned today. These are your key takeaways for the 72T rule. First, takeaway number 1, you can access your funds early, but you have to commit to a fixed, long-term payment plan, a SEPP. Second, takeaway number 2, that new 5% interest rate floor can massively boost the income you're able to get. Third, takeaway number 3, the smart move is to split your IRA to customize your income and keep a flexible emergency fund. And finally, takeaway number 4, the rules are incredibly strict, the penalties are devastating, so you absolutely have to get it right. No mistakes.
You know, this whole complex system kind of leaves you with a big question. If you've done all the hard work of saving for your future, why is it so ridiculously complicated to access your own money? The 72T rule is without a doubt a powerful tool, but its crazy rigidity and all the risks involved really make you wonder if there isn't a simpler, better way. It's definitely something to think about. That's all for now, folks. Please like, share, and subscribe for more like this.